Hello, everybody, and welcome to my live stream on finding the right martial art for your personality and goals. I know I'm starting a few minutes late, and I just wanted to introduce myself a little bit. I'm Eric Calderon, and the martial art that I do is called Aikido. And I'm sure a lot of you guys probably came to this channel because you're looking for information about Aikido, but there's a lot of other martial arts out there. And in my stream last week, I was talked about the 5 common mistakes that people make when they're a beginner in the martial arts. And of course, one of them is finding the right school or martial art for them. So I thought I would dedicate a whole live stream on that. And I'm going to try to bring on some guests from different martial arts so we can have a really nice discussion about, what kind of personality type fits what kind of art. That's the most important thing, because again, the martial arts, anything that you take should be a long-term pursuit. It's not like you can learn a martial art in 6 weeks, unless you're like a genius and super talented, and most of us are not like that. I'm definitely not like that. I'm probably one of those people that takes 10 times longer than the average person to understand something and get something. I mean, it took me 6 months to learn the front roll. When I started rock climbing, it took me a whole year, like literally a whole year, to get up to the top of the wall. And I was so humbled because I started climbing with my daughter, and the grading for rock climbing is like a 5.7. 5.7 is like beginner, and 5.12 is like advanced, and 5.11 is also advanced. And it took me 5 years to get into that advanced zone, and it took my daughter like 1 month. 1 whole month to get into that advanced zone. I was so humbled. I was like, oh my God, I am so untalented. But going back to the reason for the martial arts is, that perseverance, that dedication, and that long-term commitment. And I did a video a long time ago about, if you're not going to stick with something for 10 years, then don't bother even trying to do it. That was a controversial video that I did. A lot of people didn't like that thought because, you want to try something for a few months, and then you want to try something else for a few months, and then you want to try something else for a few months, and enjoy yourself. But then, of course, you're just staying on the very, very shallow part of the knowledge that you're gaining. So making that long-term commitment, finding the right martial art that fits your personality and goals is very important. I mean, just off the top of my head, you have Aikido, right? You've got Judo, you've got Karate, you've got Jiu-Jitsu, you've got Muay Thai, you've got Tai Chi, then you've got so many different types of Kung Fu, and then you've got Taekwondo, and you've got Savat, and you've got Krav Maga. I mean, these are just off the top of my head of all the different arts. And the interesting thing is that each art offers something completely different, but on top of that, and it's like the multiplier effect, that each individual instructor offers something completely different, and so does each school offer something completely different. So the ideal thing, what you're really trying to do, is find an art and a school and an instructor that fit you, your personality and your goals and your character, so that you can stick with it long term and you can enjoy it, and you can actually, it'll actually benefit your life, and in many, many ways. So tonight I'm going to try to bring on Brian Tridico, that teaches ninjutsu, and also I'm going to try to bring on Ernesto Espinosa, that teaches judo. And both of them have been doing martial arts for decades. So together we probably have 100 years worth of experience and knowledge that we're going to share with you tonight in helping you try to find that art that fits your personality type and your goals, because that's another thing. So let me see if I can text these guys and bring them on. Let's see. Let's go with Brian. So I just texted him. I said, "Hey, can you join now?" And we'll see if he's going to join. And of course, Brian Tridico trains in ninjutsu, and I think it's called the Bujinkan style, and under Hatsumi Sensei, which is in Japan. And I actually took a few classes from Hatsumi Sensei when I was in Japan. And let's see if he's going to jump on in a second. And I also have here's an overlay. Got a nice definition that I kind of prepared for the class. Here it is, show ninjutsu. So this is ninjutsu. And yeah, like I'm like the kind of people that would be interested in ninjutsu are very different than the kind of people that would be interested in Aikido. So Aikido. Let's talk about Aikido for a second. Um, Aikido is like it's a very flowy art. There's no competitions. So if you don't like competitions, then um, it's a good art for you. There is a style of Aikido, and again, like every instructor is so different. There's a guy that took Aikido from the founder of Aikido, Morihei Ueshiba, and he decided to spin. I'm going to text Brian again. Um, he decided to spin a sport Aikido, kind of like make it a competition Aikido, and then that kind of I don't know. That's not my cup of tea, right? But it is someone else's. It might be your cup of tea. You might enjoy that. But for me, like Aikido, the kind of personality that likes to do Aikido is someone that enjoys intense training and somebody that, like someone told me once, Aikido is like sprinting a marathon. So it is very, very physical, unless, of course, you get an instructor that is not very physical. So again, when I went to Japan, the level of physical activity in Japan is very high. Okay, hold on. Some kind of issue. Oh, can you try Chrome? So Brian is having an issue logging on. And let's ask Ernesto if he can join. And let's see, do we have any chats here? Oh, BGP Studios. Good evening, David. How are you? So there you go, BGP Studios. David has a really nice channel that talks about boxing, which boxing is another kind of art, right? Where that, I mean, it's not. I mean, is it a martial art? Is it? I don't know. Is it just it's sport? It's an American sport. So when we think martial arts, we're thinking more along the lines of Asian or kind of martial art. But I consider boxing a martial art. But David's got a great boxing channel. Okay, so let's get Ernesto to join. Let's pop him on. Hello, Ernesto. Can you hear me?
Hey, how are
Hey,
you?
how are you? Very, very good. So, so I was just talking about. I asked Brian Tridico to see if he can join, but we were talking. I was talking about ninjutsu, and then I'm talking about the kind of personality types that would enjoy Aikido. And you teach judo, so tell me a little bit about yourself and like how long have you been teaching judo? And yeah, tell me about that.
Well, I
Well, I
practice
practice
more than
more than
and teach
teach
the
the
last
last
children.
children. Uh huh.
Um,
Um,
there,
there.
a experience for me
Experience
has been
has
pretty.
been pretty. Uh huh. Ah. So you're cutting in and out a little bit, but I'm not sure I wonder if it's my noise cancellation on my. Let me take out noise cancellation. Hold on one second. Oh, you know what? I don't think I can do that. Uh, well, it's okay. So um, so what kind of personality type do you think would enjoy judo?
That's because
Uh,
we
we
because
because
to be
to
those
be those
violence,
violence,
but
but
at the
at the
same person
some person
because
because
I
I
little
feel oh,
at
that
the
it
person.
person
So
so
you break.
So you know what, Ernesto? So your audio is cutting out, and I just saw in the text that I think it's coming from your side. So I wonder, maybe you've got noise. You know what? Maybe you have to log out, and then before you log in, check your audio settings and uncheck noise cancellation.
Okay, let me do that, and I'll be back.
Okay. Sounds good.
Thank you.
Yeah, sorry. And so, Brian, are you there? Okay, I see Brian is there, but he's not there. Okay. Okay, let me text Brian. Okay, so Brian is there but not there. I think he's having some issues with on his side. I wonder what it is. Okay, so yeah. Okay, Brian is in the chat. Sounds like two mics going. So guys, I guess I got to work out these issues. I did have a really exciting live stream planned for you guys, but I'm not a tech guy. Oh, you can't hear me. You can't hear you. Okay. Yeah, me too, Brian. Me too, Brian. I have no idea. I'm not that much of a tech guy either. But let's see if Ernesto is back on. Okay, Ernesto, you back on?
I think so.
Okay.
Oh, that sounds much better.
That's good.
So yeah, maybe let's say let's see, Brian, if you want to try your phone. Okay, so tell me again, because you were cutting out really bad. So tell me again about the kind of person that would enjoy doing judo.
First of all, you need to be crazy. That's for sure. So who wants to be tossed on the ground?
Yeah.
Violence.
Yeah.
But also you need some of the traits that have been detected is perseverance,
Yep.
because the first stages are always frustrating. Learning your technique, your first techniques, and after that, when you overcome that first stage, you need some resilience.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And I see the stages. The people that is able to move from those first stages to let's say an intermediate stage.
Yeah.
They usually are respectful and open-minded.
Yeah.
Remember that old story about a teacher and a Zen master? When the teacher tries to learn about the Zen, and he just started interrupting the Zen master. At the end, the Zen master says, like, you care for something, and start pouring the tea on to start overflowing. And the teacher goes like, what's going on? Well, your mind is like that. So you need to be open to learn something new. And of course, having that willingness to do it. Yes.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's I mean, I've heard that a lot too, like in Aikido too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you've got to be crazy if you want to do Aikido.
Yes.
So, and I think I just put some headphones on because I think there was some feedback from my side. But hello, Brian. How's it going?
Hey, good. Can you hear me okay?
Perfect. You sound good. Yes.
Fantastic. So, yeah, so something's up with the computer.
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah. All these
so I
technical
got the
issues.
Yeah, no worries. So I'm here with my little buddy here. He wants to
Hey
be
now.
included in the festivities. So
So Brian, please introduce yourself and tell everybody like a little bit about you and how long you've been doing ninjutsu and all that stuff.
sure, I'm Brian Tritico. I've been doing the Bujinkan martial arts for about 35 years. So it was
Nice.
originally called ninjutsu, but it's actually some other things. It was the movies and those things that got me interested. And then I discovered that it's really not those things at all. It's there's actual martial arts in it, and there's work. Anyway, long story short, I stuck with it, and I'm still going today. Still involved, still teaching, and happy to be here and to be part of your event here.
Thank you, Brian. So tell me like what kind of person would like to do ninjutsu? What's the personality
Well,
type?
yeah. So we get the people that want to do the ninja movie stuff, but then they end up leaving because it's not that at all. So you
Yeah.
actually have to
Yeah.
do you have to learn how to throw, strike. It's classical martial arts,
Hmm.
and it's also traditional, and it's nothing but work, as you know, in your art as well. It's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, and
Hmm.
it pushes you to all of those extremes. So it's really another similar art to the traditional styles that are seen in Japan. It's just a
Hmm.
lesser one. Now the commercialized way is what everybody sees, but it's not that at all. As I said, so there isn't really a type. So we get the ones that want to sneak around and do all that stuff, and they discover it's not that, so then they leave. But there's a small percentage of the people that will stay, and they're lifetimers. It's if
Yeah.
the people stay, they're in it for good. And so, of
Hmm.
1,000 people that may join, you'll have one that will actually stick through it. So it's very similar in Japan. The Japanese are not as interested in the tradition of it as foreigners. So
Hmm.
you'll have, even though it's from Japan, you'll have a very small percentage of the Japanese population that is actually interested. They're more
Yeah.
interested in more uh, modern day things instead of the what they considered something ancient and antiquated, which I don't. But my heart is in the traditional sense, and Sonny here, as you can see, he agrees completely. See, he's trying
Yeah.
to reach out and touch me here, but yeah. So there really isn't a type. If the art calls out to people, they'll show up.
Yeah.
So
And it's
Yeah.
interesting because so right now the three of us are on. We're talking about the Japanese style martial arts, and there's so many different styles of martial arts. And I mentioned them in the very beginning. Like we got Muay Thai, we got Tai Chi, we got Krav Maga, we've got mixed martial arts. I mean, there's so many different types. But so just because the three of us are here, let's talk about the differences between our types, right? Like I know, like for example, Judo is a competitive art, right?
Yeah.
Aikido is a non-competitive art. And ninjutsu is a non-competitive art, but the difference between ninjutsu and aikido is huge. And talking about someone finding the right art for them, I had a student like 25 years ago named Steve. And
Hmm.
Steve discovered ninjutsu and he gravitated towards and he still does ninjutsu today, right, Brian?
yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
He still trains with us today. He sure does.
Yeah. Yeah. So and that's that I think that's the importance of finding the art that fits you. Like Steve found it and it's so nice to see him sticking with it for so long. So let's talk a little bit about that. So
Okay,
yeah, go ahead.
go for it. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Brian, go for it.
Okay, so which aspect would you point me towards?
Aikido is non-competitive, right? So let's talk about the competitiveness and non-competitiveness of each art. So for example, Ernesto, you want to start? Judo is competitive, right? It's easy for Ernesto to start because
Yeah. Let me. As you say, there are different schools. There are different ways to learn judo. One of them is traditional. That actually is the one that I practice the most. But I also the competitive part. And from time to time, I just joined schools from of competitors just to keep myself sharp and with the latest procedures and with the latest rules and everything, so I can share with my students the same information. But the traditional style is mainly based on technique and safety, because you're going to see that many of the traditionals of or Kodokan practitioners of judo style, they are usually are long last practicing the art, because
Yeah.
of course the injury risk is less,
Yeah.
because we put safety first, right? So it's basically technique instead of brute force. But
Yeah.
that it's also interesting just to go and see how competitors are working, how they're focused most on speed and strength. Of course, they try to apply techniques. They are good technicians, but the purpose at the end is different. So
Mhm.
every month they go to competitions all around the country. That's super cool. It's very fun to see them doing this. But yeah, the purpose is different on the sense of what is the final target of your final objective, right? On one is you want to prove yourself that you can do
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
everywhere, and in the traditional way is like you can do this technique correctly using minimum effort with
Yeah.
maximum efficiency. Is one of the precepts from judo, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Also to mutual benefit, to just grow together. That is very important, and it's a thing that you also see on competition.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Now I remember when I was in Japan, I went to the Judo Kodokan in Tokyo,
Hmm.
and so I went there for 1 month because my instructor had gone out of town for a month to do seminars, and so I was like, well, I want to try judos, and I tried it, and
Yeah.
and it was kind of funny because that's when I know I'm not saying anything bad about judo. I'm just saying that that's when I realized that I
Yeah.
didn't want to do judo. I was in a competition, right? And one of the guys he was throwing me, and as he was throwing me, I used his energy and I threw him, right?
Yeah.
Because I was an Aikido guy, but I lost the match because my back hit the ground first. So in that thing, I was like, I don't like those rules, but there's a lot of people that like those rules, you know.
Yeah.
And I think, and that's what separates like judo and aikido from ninjutsu. So in ninjutsu, there's no rules, right, Brian?
That's correct, because the goal is to survive, and
Hmm.
so we do have similar training such as sparring, but it's not what you would consider like the normal, what is normalized, or the what you see in a lot of competitions. It's not that way at all. It's
Hmm.
much different. So there's no sort of well, it's randori basically, but
Hmm.
you're free to apply the things that are there within reason, of course, but you work with people that you trust over time, and you build up that ability to apply more and more of the dangerous
Hmm.
uh, blocks, whatever it is that happens to come your way, and you actually that is enhanced as you progress further. So the sparring aspect, or the randori, is a tool, but it's not a competition-based thing.
Yeah.
So it's an element within the training, such as in testing, but we don't go to tournaments and those sorts of things. We would most likely be disqualified because yeah, we would end up doing something that violates a rule
Yeah.
because that's what we would do to save ourselves. And so it's very hard for us to come out of that and go into something else. But of course, like I said, it's a tool, and it is something that we do. At a certain point, it just becomes sort of a something that you do. You don't think about it,
Hmm.
and it's just part of you. So you
Yeah.
you and it are together, But yeah, and so that's one of the main differences in the three of us here and how I would say we would do things.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so just from what we've talked about, it looks like judo is more it's a competitive art, more like win lose, but at the same time you have all these your personal development kind of things, right? Whereas ninjutsu looks more like it's more focused on survival and stuff that you could use for self defense, right?
Yeah, to protect yourself, to
Yeah,
protect if you're out with your loved ones,
yeah,
what would you do in this sort of a case? But it's not a fear-based type of thing.
yeah,
It's more of a being at ease in any situation because at a higher level we all admit this sort of a vibration or a vibe as if you want to call it. And
Mm-hmm.
all of the martial arts, if you look at the senior practitioners, they have this vibe, they have this
yeah,
sense about them that all is at peace or all is right,
Mm-hmm.
and that sort of energy isn't drawn to them. And it's a
yeah,
very similar thing in all the arts, and it's something that we strive for as well. We don't seek it out. We seek to sort of be at peace with things.
Yeah.
And it's the martial arts paradox. You're training your whole life so that you never have to use it. And
yeah,
so,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
people that are not in the arts never really understand this. It's always
yeah,
what I heard as a kid was, well, who are you afraid of, and who are you, wanting to beat up?
yeah.
That's the person that doesn't train, and it's not that at all. But it's very difficult to explain that abstract concept to the people that don't train. But
Yeah.
you stay in it long enough, these things sort of reveal themselves to you. But
Mm-hmm.
it's how do you explain that?
Yeah.
Um,
And
but
ninjutsu is like very, very serious, hardcore kind of art, right? I mean, it's not like Tai Chi. If we compare it to like even Aikido and Tai Chi is like way much softer. Like that's great for older people. And then ninjutsu is more like that's hardcore. Like you're gonna get beat, you're gonna get some bruises, you're gonna get thrown around, and you're gonna get you know beat up a little bit, right?
well, so when you say ninjutsu, so I'm in the Bujinkan, which is a
Okay.
set of 9 different martial arts that our soke or the main teacher inherited. And those arts have things what are called Ju Taijutsu, which is a forerunner of Jujitsu.
Yeah.
Uh,
Mm-hmm.
arts of throwing, striking. They had warring states, battlefield arts. So there's sort of a mix of all of these things included. And so at various levels, you do have to be rough and tumble, but
Yeah.
that's not the main diet. It's once you
Yeah.
get through that phase of the training, you start to see that, hey, there's a much bigger world, because as you get older, you can't do the Uchimata like you did in the
Yeah.
old days, and you
Yeah.
can't
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
a Harai Gosh. These
Yeah.
basic throws, you can't do those when you're much older, on like you would when you're younger.
Yeah.
As
Mm-hmm.
far as the ukemi side, it's
Yeah.
much more difficult, but you learn that as a foundational stage. So yeah, in the beginning it is rough, and it is difficult, but as you get older, your refinement is better. So you can
Yeah.
make a very small movement,
Mm-hmm.
and it has the same effect as when you did it 20, 30 years ago, but you're doing almost nothing, but you're getting the better effect. You understand better angles, better balance.
Yeah.
You have a much better understanding of the universal concepts rather than just focusing on a one or two skills.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny because you mentioned age, right? So age is like when I was in Tokyo, I remember the oldest person that I ever saw start Aikido for the very first, and had never done martial arts before, was 84 years old. Like this guy, I was
Wow.
like impressed. 84, he was gotten on the mat and he's getting thrown around. In Japan, in Hombu Dojo in Japan, they throw you around. It's not, it can get pretty intense. But then, of course, I don't think he was thrown around that hard because he was much older, right? But judo, Ernesto, that's more for kids, right? Is that's a lot I mean, you wouldn't want to start judo in your 60s, right?
Yeah. No, I was a teenage preteen when
Yeah.
I started. So, and actually in that moment, it's the usual. You need to do something. So I
Yeah.
was pretty much dragged by my dad just to
Yeah.
start. So, but from there I start developing, that need for the art, and I just stay there. So, and I mean, I love it, and then I found that other part of kind of the perfect timing. And
Yeah.
I do not agree with you that your Aikido is soft,
Yeah.
but that timing that you handle, that's perfect. So, and for that reason, I just joined to Aikido because it
Yeah.
is powerful. It's very
Yeah.
powerful. So I
Yeah.
mean, and I'm going, with all honesty, I'm gonna say that some of the elements that you handle in your Aikido, I have just crossed them over to my judo, and
Oh,
they're
nice.
helping a
Nice.
lot.
Yeah.
Yes, because those as Ryan is commenting, as you evolve in your art, you
Yeah.
start sensing that if something is missing, what is missing, and
Yeah.
then it's like, oh, look at that, we can integrate this
Yeah.
thing and make it more efficient. Probably it's not because your art is wrong. Probably you just miss just keep
Yeah.
that class. And okay, but you found it, and you now know how to integrate, because there are subtleties there that probably
Yeah.
you as a rookie you are never gonna see.
Yeah.
Requires time, requires training, and you recognize them, and you are able to integrate in your training. And the
Hmm.
good thing is that I just try to pass those little information to my students. I
Hmm.
never go and say, oh, is this and that you stole it from Aikido, right? But it's like you just use this movement, and you're gonna see that
Yeah.
how your efficiency just doubles,
Yeah.
because now you are really using less energy. Yeah.
That's interesting how you say, your dad got you into that, because that's the same with me, right? When I was a kid, when I was like 5 years old, my
Yeah.
dad hired a kung fu teacher to come to the house and teach me kung fu, right?
Wow.
And then I went to the park and started learning judo. I did a little bit of judo, and then I did some taekwondo, and I kind of went all over the place, and same with Brian. Like he said, he saw some ninjutsu movies. I saw an aikido movie, and I was like, wow, I want to try that out.
Mm-hmm.
And then and that's what got me to find Aikido, and I really liked it a lot. I don't know what it was about the Aikido. I think it was just the fast pace, the
Mm-hmm.
getting thrown and being thrown, and there's no winner, there's no loser, and you're just focused on repetitive, building those techniques and over and over again. And just I remember I used to tell my friends, Aikido is like Taekwondo one-step sparring, because I had done many, many years of Taekwondo, and we did like one-step sparring, and I said Aikido is like one-step sparring for Taekwondo, right? But then I really liked it. So Brian, what got you into ninjutsu, and or like did you do other martial arts before, and then you finally found Bujinkan?
Yeah, so it started off watching Kung Fu theater on Saturday mornings on
Mm-hmm.
TV.
Yeah, I used to
And,
do that.
and so what happened was is I started watching and noticing that their punches were making this noise. It was like a flapping sound, right? And so I would go out in the yard and I would say, all right, I'm not getting that sound. What am I not doing? Of course, not knowing that it's sound effects. And
Yeah.
so, when I jump, I'm not hearing this fluttering.
Yeah.
What am I doing wrong? And anyway, that's how it started, and then eventually I got. It was in the ninja boom of the '80s, and
Uh-huh.
it was
Mm-hmm.
ninja everywhere. And
Yeah.
uh, I uh, I started to see the Stephen Hayes books,
Oh yeah,
and
I read those.
Mm-hmm.
so I
Yes.
ended up going to one of his events in Ohio, and then later, it was much later, I ended up going to Japan, and I
Mhm.
discovered that, the thing Hayes was doing was actually different than what the Japanese were doing. And there was much
Yeah.
more popularity in what others were doing instead of the actual art. And I thought, all right, I'm not sure how this got this way, but it did. So even today you have this large contingent of people that are doing something that is different than what the Japanese teachers are doing. And the Japanese teachers, it's, you know, it's pretty severe.
Yeah.
It can be, because they take it very serious, and, you know, and they expect you to take it serious too. And so I ended up going over there, meeting them, and then, you know, that certainly pretty much cemented my bloodline, so to speak. You know, it's been in my blood all along. You and, you know, you guys being martial artists as well, you know what that is like. It's just
Yeah.
in your system, and you don't really have a particular, you know, you
Yeah.
can't point to a thing. It's just there. Um, but yeah, it started with the kung fu movies, and I can't duplicate that sound. What am I doing wrong?
Yeah.
And then, you know, watching it, you know, waiting for the next Saturday, because there was no internet back then, and you had to.
Yeah.
And then, you know, what do we got the next week? And then this guy's throwing a rope with a big,
Yeah.
you know, looked like a saw blade. So I went and got a saw blade, and I'm trying that in the backyard. Anyway, I could go on and on, but you know, those things, even though they're kind of silly, they can guide us to an actuality of something much bigger and real. So in ninjutsu, there are a lot of people, like I said, doing something different. And so in my early
Yeah.
days, I used to be very against them, but I
Yeah.
see them now in the bigger picture, that, hey,
Yeah.
you know what? That sort of gets people interested in the, you know, to know, hey, there's an actual art here. And then
Yeah.
the people that are called to it, they will show up.
Yeah.
And I was one of those. I ended up going to Japan, meeting the teachers, and then, you know, I'm going to be doing this until my last day. So,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
it's just how it is, you know.
Yeah, and that's a very important thing that I realized also, is that, and it's kind of funny too, because when I moved back, I moved from Japan to the United States, and Houston. I opened up a school, and I always felt like, hey, you know, there's so many different kinds of Aikido, and it's just a matter of the person finding the right mix, right? And then I remember there was a big Aikido teacher here in Houston, and he invited me, and we were sitting and having a drink, and he was like, yeah, I'm going to take all the Aikido students from everyone, and they're going to come to my school. And I was like, really? I was like, I mean, come on, you know, there's Aikido from, you know, there's people that are going to like your Aikido, and there's going to be people that don't like your Aikido. I didn't say any of that. I just kept my mouth shut, and I was like, God, this guy's got a little bit of an ego, and it was funny though. But yeah, so going back to that point, you know, like there, in the bigger picture of things, you know, that it's like, yeah, if somebody likes his Aikido over my Aikido, I'm glad, I'm happy about that, you know, because then, because for me to the main purpose is to see a change in the person because of their training. So they come to my class, and eventually over time they evolve and they change. They become more physically fit. Their ideas kind of open up. And I'm sure, like with judo, it's the same thing, right? And so you're seeing the kids change from day to day. So like, so tell me more about how the kids change in the judo class.
Well, as they start growing up, you know, the interests are changing. Some of them the same. They are in class because their parents just bring them to class to do some PE off campus. Others they are because they want to learn something, to learn to defend themselves. Some of them. Others they because they enjoy to be challenged. They enjoy the competition.
Yeah.
But I could say because that personalities are still evolving, they start growing.
Yeah.
Those traits that we thought at the beginning of this conversation, they're still in development. So the children, some of them, they're going to be there for probably, as Ryan was commenting, of all the 100 children, probably 2 or 3, they're going to keep going. But that's interesting to witness. And when you got teenagers, so you got young adults, you can see that, you know, mentality is different. The perception of what they want to learn is different. And at the end, the objective is different for them. They want to, you know, be physically fit. They want to learn how to defend themselves. And as always said, like, if you learn how to break fall, that you got self-defense right there. So
You must see their self-confidence boost too, right? I mean
yeah,
that's a big thing, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. In my case, I was a bit of an introvert when I was a preteen, and of course, you are afraid of a lot of stuff when you are young because you're gonna see, and you know me, I'm a short man, so it's like, and I'm not that strong, but when I was a preteen, I was skinny like fishbone, and afraid of a lot of stuff, right? But you start gaining that confidence because you realize at one point that you can throw a bigger
Yeah.
guy just
Yeah.
using your own strength. It's like that is an amazing moment for you, and that gives you some confidence. It's like, oh, yes, I can do a little more. But then comes the day that just a little boy or a little girl just beats you
Yeah. Yeah.
badly. So that also helps you, like, okay,
Yeah.
what I'm doing, right? So it's like, I cannot be that bully, right?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
and
Yeah.
yeah, because just that this happens right now. So that
Yeah.
start, putting the things in your mind, particularly when you're a child or a teenager. But put the things in perspective, like, okay, I can be the big guy,
Yeah.
but also I can be beaten. So it's part of that education program that judo just provides. Yeah, yeah, but it's interesting.
And then in the Bujinkan, you see that like I'm sure you see that self-confidence grow even faster, right? Because your techniques are a lot more pinpointed into, like, like taking somebody out.
Well, it's really case by case.
Yeah.
It's really at the root of it is developing skill, and
Yeah.
then you can get this
Hmm.
overconfidence,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
there's a saying, and I forget the saying, but it's basically when the nail comes up out of the floor, it's hammered back down. And
Yeah.
so, do you remember that saying, Eric? I don't remember
Oh
the specific,
yeah. Oh man, that's a big
but
Japanese
so
saying.
yeah,
That's Japan. If you
yeah,
stick out, you're gonna get hammered down.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I've actually started to see that as it's a normal phenomenon that I think most people should or they do go through at some point in their training because it's a very valuable lesson. So
Mhm.
because the real confidence comes from within, and it starts with these things that make you think that you're in control, but then you
Yeah.
find it, uh-oh, okay, I don't know what I was thinking, but I definitely need to learn some more. and and those things
Yeah.
are very important for people's development because
Yeah.
the world, that's how the world operates. It's
Yeah.
always
Hmm.
you're constantly learning, and there's never
Yeah.
really that moment where anyway, where I'm going with that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But
Yeah, I mean, Aikido is a lot like that in the sense that, and it's probably more the Japanese culture than anything else, because I'm sure we see it in judo and in Bujinkan, is that you're always humbled. Like it's like, if you're gonna do Aikido with me, if you've been doing Aikido for 10 years with me, you're still gonna be humbled, and it's still gonna be hard to do the techniques,
Oh
right?
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely, yes,
yeah,
and and there's a sense of reverence we have to our seniors. So I have a
yeah,
very high rank in the Bujinkan, but
yeah,
I am not anywhere near the skill level as my teacher. I may
Hmm.
have the same rank, but that's a given rank. That's
yeah,
not, in the upper ranks, you're given those ranks. There's not necessarily a thing you do,
Yeah.
skill wise. It's other
yeah,
things. But
yeah,
those people are still our teachers, and they, no
yeah.
matter
Hmm.
where we are or what we do, they, we owe it to them because without them, we would not be where we are.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And so there's always that reverence or that humbleness that
Yeah.
should accompany these things, and that lesson brings that into the forefront of the mind. Hey, maybe I didn't know this throw
Yeah.
as well as I thought, or this
Hmm.
particular technique. And so, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm sure that has that, like, because now I just want to touch on MMA, because MMA is really popular right now. That's like
Hmm.
everybody wants to do MMA, and I drive by MMA dojo and I see it's like packed. One of my students actually, a wonderful, wonderful girl, which now a woman, she started doing Aikido with me when she was like 5 years old. And then she did Aikido with me until she went to college. And then when she went to college, she moved to, I think it was Austin or San Antonio. She went to like 4 different Aikido dojos and she just could not gel with that style, with those styles. So she got into mixed martial arts. And then I like 2 months ago I went to visit her in San Antonio and I went to her dojo and it's packed. I mean there must have been like 100 students.
Wow.
And I think one of the things about like it's very with that mixed martial arts you're humbled pretty fast because there's always someone better than you. And then you're always getting on the mat with someone, and that is more of a win-lose. Where Aikido, there's no win-lose. Aikido, we're just doing repetitive, more like repetitive self-defense techniques over and over and over again, trying to master those. But then with the MMA, you're and the same with judo, right? You're humbled right away by the person that beats you, and then that's something that you can learn from, which is I see that as exciting as well. I think, I talked about the story of Ronda Rousey. She was amazing. She was a UFC fighter, amazing fighter. And when she lost against Holly Holmes, she went into a serious depression because she didn't. That's where she's missing that martial arts mentality of learning from your failures, right? So that's huge. Getting to learn from your failures and MMA has it, judo has it. Aikido is a little different, but ninjutsu is. I enjoy. I actually would. I don't know. I think I told you this, Brian, but I went to Hatsumi Sensei's class a few times when I lived in Tokyo. I had a really good friend that was into the Bujinkan, and I went to a few of his classes, and I enjoyed it. I had a good time. But then I was just so into Aikido. Like Aikido was like, I'm Aikido guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was fun. But so. Ernesto, do you want to have any last words so we'll close off the stream?
Well, what came to my mind right now is speaking of being humble. I think that you find teachers in your classes with a white belt, with a little girl, with a skinny guy. They're always going to teach you something that you are missing, in not only your technique, if not the way that you are teaching. Because somewhere you're gonna, miss to read the person that you got in front on what they're looking for, and usually go start talking. But you need to be also humble with the people that is coming to you for instruction. It's like, okay, let's go try to work case by case, and that's it.
I think the teacher learns from the student as well. Like I learn a lot from my students all the time. That's great. Brian, you want to have any closing words?
Well, just it's a lifelong path. Martial arts is a life thing. It's not to me, my opinion anyway, it's not a Tuesday, Wednesday thing. Those of us that are in it for our lifetimes, it's even when we're off the clock, so to speak, it's still running around in our heads. We're reading books, and it's not that way for everyone, but it is for several of us. And as you go and you evolve, you start to see sort of a pyramid, sort of a shape. You see all these differences at the bottom when you first start, but then as you go, you start to see these universal concepts that are in all of them. It's like, there's only so many ways you can throw a human body, and but there's one sort of principle that sort of embodies all of it. And anyway, it's just an amazing journey if you stick with it. Those of you out there listening, there's nothing like the martial arts journey. And the treasures that you get, they reveal themselves to you as you put your heart and soul into training.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and it's like Ernesto said at the beginning. I think you weren't on yet, Brian, but Ernesto said, "Is it you got to be crazy?" That's like,
yeah. We're fanatics. In some realms, we're considered fanatics. You're absolutely right.
But yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I think for those of you out there that are watching the stream, like if you want to get into a martial art, definitely think about it long term. Like it's more like a lifelong pursuit. I hope that I can do this like up until the day that I die. I really want to be doing Aikido, and and I focus my training on that, so that I can continue doing it. Where I know like a lot of those mixed martial arts guys, actually one of my students he decided to take UFC stuff, and it took out his knee, tore his ACL, and he's quit martial arts, So I think about that a lot as well. But then definitely for you to find the art that gels with your personality type, that's very important. So, visit a lot of dojos, find the one that you're going to enjoy. Because if you enjoy going to that class, you will continue much longer. Where if you get in, like, let's say I'm the kind of person that I went to military school. I do not like somebody yelling at me. I had enough of that when I was a kid. And so for me, I liked Aikido because they never yelled at me. But then there are some martial arts, like especially like in Taekwondo, the dojos that I went to Taekwondo, the instructor was very like military like, and he would like yell at you and put you down, and I didn't like that. So I didn't gel with that. But that doesn't mean you don't like that. So you might like that. And if you do, then that's the kind of program that you want to find so that you stick with it long term. But Ernesto, Brian, thank you so much for joining me on this live stream. I hope the people out there got some value from it, and hopefully we can do this again. Okay?
Yeah,
Yes, of
absolutely.
course.
It's great to be here. Great to be with you guys, and for all the people watching, the martial arts is a wonderful journey. Please join us.
Yeah, and then Susie, Travel Around Susie, was on the stream. Tomoko is in Japan right now. She was on the stream. She said hi to you guys. And then David was on the stream. David has a YouTube channel called, what was it called? It's called Pathway to Glory. It's all about boxing. So thanks a lot for joining, guys, and I'll see you guys next time.